Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge Podcast. My name's Josh. Thanks for joining me. Before we get started, I want to talk to you today about Investing Pro by Investing.com. Are you like me and don't understand stocks at all, but you want to get involved in it because you want to invest some of your money to have a better future for you and your kids? Well, I'm dumb when it comes to stocks. I literally am an idiot. So Investing Pro reached out and said, hey, here's an easy way you can invest using artificial intelligence and our wicked awesome tools. It's going to help me and you make smarter market decisions if you want to get into stock investing. It's like having a pro investor in your pocket. Boop. Hi, little pro investor guy. And the coolest thing about the site is the ProPicks AI. ProPicks AI is an AI stock picker telling you which stocks will likely outperform the S&P 500. For example, there's the tech titans, like Warren Buffett. This one here is called Best of Buffett. And you can take a look at what he's investing in. Amazon, American Express, Apple, Chevron, Coca-Cola, Kroger, like all the big ones. I once heard a guy tell me that if you're gonna invest in stocks, it's the boring that matters. And I don't know if that's true or not, but this is a guy that invests in things like tampons, toilet paper, toothpaste, toothbrushes, things that are never gonna go out of style that everybody's always gonna need. And when you use artificial intelligence, like here on Investing Pro, you can ask it those types of questions. So you head over here to Warren AI, and you can ask Warren AI things like, is investing in products that are evergreen always a better option? And I like this because I can ask it in my language and it understands what I'm telling it. And I can say, help me invest in stocks like I'm 5 years old, which we'll do in a second. Although I don't think you're allowed to if you're 5 years old. Evergreen products, those with steady ongoing demand, can offer stability. Always better is a stretch. I like that. Even reliable sectors face disruption, margin pressure, or regulatory risks. I like that I can ask it these types of questions. I like tech stocks. I think that's pretty cool. I'm into Apple, I'm into Tesla, I'm into SpaceX, all those kind of things that are emerging. That and the fact that I can follow people like Nancy Pelosi and see what she's doing because she and her husband make hundreds of millions of dollars in the stock market. So my take has always been follow the best in the business and you will also be successful. And that's what makes this thing so awesome and so easy to use. I follow the best and I can literally carbon copy what they do. It's never been easier to invest in stocks and copy the big guys with Investing Pro. Warren AI does it right, that's for sure. You can ask it anything. You can ask to break it down granularly and explain it like you're 10 years old, and it will. It'll help you invest in the coolest stocks out there. Thing is, it can analyze data in real time too and gives you the most up-to-date data right at your fingertips. So if you and your family ever been interested in investing in stocks, why don't you give this a shot? Click the link in the description box or the top comment below to get that deal. Become your own mini tech titan by using Investing Pro by Investing.com. I made that up myself. I thought that was pretty cool. And honestly, because of the way my brain works, I feel like I've been left out of the stock market because it sometimes can be so daunting to understand. This breaks it down and it gives you tools that no one has ever had in the history of humanity. It is an amazing program and you should get it. Click the link below, 15% off. Get it today. Thank you, Investing Pro, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge Podcast. My name's Josh. Thanks for joining me. Today we're talking about Emilie Kiser, the update on what's been going on with that case. It's actually quite crazy, the things that have transpired since the last video. One, she's suing so that none of the information comes out, and so we're going to talk about that. And two, there's been some creepy people doing some creepy ass stuff. And we got, again, the conversation is bigger than just child exploitation here, but it is at its core. So let's talk about it. Never Forever chenille patches are now available on my store, thedadchallengepodcast.com. Make sure you head over there and order your shirt today. I am making them here and I ship them out myself, so you get them timely fashion, okay? Just wanted to let you know that that's what's out. Not this one. You can't get this color yet unless I get enough orders for it, but this is a limited edition drop. It's a chenille patch. It's made of like fabric, carpet, I don't know when you say that, but we got 15 of them and that is it. Once they're sold, they are gone. I'm not getting them back. I'm going to do a different design. That's what we're going to do with Tyson's brand though. We're going to do cool drops. Anyway, so that is available on my store. I'm going to be sure you're going to be hearing me say that a lot now because I got my own store and I want to launch that and do that, and I got people working for me to do that. So awesome. I'm really excited about it. Anyway, let's get to this Emilie Kiser case. Before we get down to it, if you don't know what happened, Emilie Kiser is an influencer on TikTok who was in the millions of subscribers. But ever since this whole thing went down with her son drowning in the pool in the backyard, everybody's been talking about it. Okay, it's a conversation around pool safety, around child safety, around negligence, around child exploitation, which should be in that conversation for sure. Around, hey, she deserves privacy. These people need to grieve in peace and all this kind of stuff. And it's super divided. If anything, it's the most divided case I've ever heard as far as people saying, hey, she should get privacy, she should get these things. And there are people like, no, if you choose this walk of life, this is what comes with that walk of life. And that's kind of the camp that I lay in, and you know that. You guys know that. My whole argument here, and we're going to see that in a bunch of Reddit posts as well, soon as that, you chose this life. When you choose the public spotlight, that's it. You now live in the public spotlight regardless of what happens. You don't get to pick and choose when your kids get privacy. You don't get to pick and choose when you get privacy. You don't get to pick and choose when you get canceled for something, whether or not, I would respect my privacy. You do not get to have privacy anymore. Does that mean, I'm sorry. I understand that the human nature and people want to say, well, she deserves it. You should allow her to have it. And I can understand that. Everybody deserves to grieve, how they want to grieve. And I agree with that. But once you step into the public spotlight and you have millions and millions of followers, you just, the reality is you don't get it. Okay, and so everybody can wish for it, and a lot of people can be mad at other people for covering it. But the irony is that they're all arguing about in comment sections and videos about Emilie Kiser, right? So the irony is that they're leave her alone when you're the one actually putting that comment in that thing and it boosting its algorithm. So the irony is there. But Emilie Kiser is suing for, here, I'll just read the thing from US Weekly. Us Weekly. Is it Us Weekly or US Weekly? Anyway, Emilie Kiser files lawsuit to block release of records about son Trigs' death. This is the most famous photo of an influencer at this point. Everybody has used this picture. Everybody. Us Weekly can confirm that the investigation of Emilie Kiser's son's death is officially closed. And that's update as of yesterday. So they have done the investigation. It was closed. Probably likely ruled it as an accident. And I don't think anybody not really, no serious people were thinking that this was done on purpose or anything like that. Not at all. Accidental negligence, sure. I think negligence is probably one of the biggest ones because we have discussed not having a pool fence where you open your back door and there's a giant pool. Now, apparently they had a net that wasn't up. So if you're going to do these things, if you're going to put these mitigating factors to try to avoid accidents, then you should probably put them up. At its very core, I think there's some parental negligence here. Now, what I don't agree with is people walking around in her neighborhood filming her through her window. And I'm not even going to show you the video because no. And that woman apparently lives in a neighborhood, which I doubt she does, by the way, because she's super trashy, and I don't think that neighborhood is trashy people, and if you know what I mean. It's a very expensive neighborhood. But people are walking up to her house, filming inside, zooming in on her while she's on her phone and her couch. That's real world shit. You don't do that. You just don't do that. We can call out child exploiters all day long on here, and I have talked about going to events to picket and protest, and I will do those things. But it's a little bit different when you're going to their private residence and you're filming into their window. Okay, that you can't do shit like that. That person was called out, and that video got deleted, and I think their account got deleted, and rightly so. And she was trying to justify doing it by hey, I don't even know how. I think it was crazy. The things that people will do. So I'm absolutely 100% against that. Emilie Kiser filed a lawsuit in Arizona to block the release of records about her 3-year-old son, Trigs' death. Emily's going through a parent's worst nightmare right now. She lost her young son, her 3-year-old Trig Chapman Kaiser, on May 18th, 2025, following a heartbreaking accidental drowning at the family's home on May 12th. The lawsuit, filed Tuesday, May 27th, and published by Arizona Republic, read, Emilie is trying her best to be there for her surviving son, 2-month-old Theodore, but every day is a battle. The filing noted that there have been more than 100 public record requests filed with both the city of Chandler and the Maricopa County Medical Examiner offices. And people are upset with that number. But again, I tell you this, guys, because this is a case that has gone national. Canada and US for sure, probably overseas as well. It's in all the newspapers. It's a very, very, very big conversation. I think it's less about the drowning and the accidental stuff that happened there, and more about, again, what I'm talking about here, the privacy and the exploitation of children and the choices that you make and that you have to live with and deal with. The records requested presumably reveal graphic, distressing, and intimate details of Trigs' death that have no bearing on government accountability, the lawsuit read. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it has bearing on. the U.S. is a free country, and the public records are released probably more for the protection of the residents than it is for the protection of the police or anything else. It's not really meant to be like, well, we're releasing this because that's what that person deserves. It's because it's keeping everybody accountable inside the government entity that does this. That's what I think anyway. To allow disclosure in these circumstances would be turn Arizona's public records law into a weapon of emotional harm rather than a tool of government transparency. And turning into a weapon of emotional harm, are people trying to hurt Emilie? I don't think so. She got a lot of fans, a lot of support, and a lot of people just asking questions. I don't think that asking questions, especially what I'm doing here, I'm not trying to hurt Emilie Kiser. I'm not trying to I told y'all so. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to say there's a conversation here that is in the circumference of what we talk about in this channel, which is the privacy for children, which means that they can't give informed consent to, right? That's the conversation. But this is a lawyer speaking, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, she comes from a family of lawyers or something like that who work in a law firm. They're very wealthy, very powerful people, and there's been an argument whether or not this will go through. And if it goes through, it sets a massive precedent for all famous people in the world who can just shut it down legally if they don't want any information, and they can change where that information goes and how it's perceived. I don't think this is going to go through. I understand why people want it to, but I promise you don't. Okay? You don't want something like this to happen, because then it's going to set a massive precedent. When things need to be released, they need to be released for reasons. People need to learn things. We need to understand it. We need to make sure that the government is being held accountable to the way that they do things. That's what records are for. So they're saying it's a weapon of emotional harm rather than a tool of government transparency. But that's, again, like the decision to make yourself famous, these freedom of information requests and things like that are there for a reason, and you can't just shut it down because it's not convenient for you or you think it's going to hurt you more. And I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just giving the reality of it. The filing noted that the influencer respectfully urges this court to prevent the profound invasion of privacy that would result from the public disclosure of these sensitive materials. She praised that the court enter an order permanently enjoining defendants from granting public access to any investigative or post-mortem records related to the tragic death of her son Trig. Now, I can understand that you don't want photos out there and video, body cam stuff. I understand that, and I don't think anybody should ever be getting their hands on that shit and releasing it. There's absolutely no need. There is no need for that, okay? But for investigative records, that's a little bit different. We can read the records, what happened, and then we can... if this is negligence, if there is negligence on behalf of the parents, I think we ought to know that. I think we ought to be able to understand that, and we ought to be able to hold them accountable for that. What this sounds like to me is they're trying to not be held accountable for something. And it just makes it worse. It makes everybody want to talk about it, and 1,000 articles written about it. So she wanted privacy and to walk away, just keep everything quiet, and eventually will disappear. Right? But that's not what's happening here. It sounds like Emilie is going to attempt to come back to the internet because that's where she makes all of her money. And she's very wealthy because of what she does on the internet. That's what it looks like to me. And the optics matter. Maybe that's not her intention. Maybe that's not her lawyer's intention. Maybe that's not what maybe they really just, and I can even believe that they just don't want this recirculating back, so they have to watch it. I get that. Right? But the optics do matter here, and the optics are, we don't want to be held accountable. We want any investigation, and we don't want people to know what happened. That's what it sounds like to me. The lawsuit asked that the court allow for public access. If the court allows for public access, Kaiser would request that the court first conduct an in-camera review of all records, and until such review is complete, temporarily enjoin defendants from releasing any portion of the records. So they're saying, if you are going to release, because they are going to release, they are going to let them release, that they say, well, can you redact pictures, images, things like that, and I completely agree. I do not think, even though that the Freedom of Information Act exists, that, I do think you should be able to get it, I just don't think anybody should ever release that. There's just no reason to do it. Okay, there isn't, because that's a side thing, and that's an accident that happened. Regardless of whether it's negligence or something, it's still accidental. Maybe negligence caused it, obviously, so that's what it sounds like, but not the investigative part. If the investigative part reveals something that we ought to know, we ought to know it. Okay, but you do not need to be salacious in putting out the other details. And the thing is, I get it, they will. US Weekly people, all these people will put that shit out there, and I don't think it should be out there. The filing noted that neither Kaiser nor the council have reviewed the investigative or postmortem records, including the police report, supplemental records, security camera footage of the accidental drowning, body-worn camera footage, scene photos, recording transcript, autopsy report, autopsy photos, and death certificate, because these records have not been made available to them. The lawsuit claimed that Kaiser does not wish to ever view them, and I don't blame her for that. Absolutely not. I wouldn't want to either. Accordingly, Emilie's counsel cannot know the full extent of nature of the sensitive graphic or private content they may contain. So they don't know what all this contains. They're just trying to preemptively shut it all down no matter what. The statement read, upon information and belief, the records, particularly the security camera footage of the accidental drowning, are exceptionally raw and graphic. Now, they had to give the camera footage, and these are influencers. How many influencers, don't have cameras all over their house and all over their yard? Okay, so this footage, unfortunately, what it likely shows is obviously the thing that happened to the child. And we don't need to see that. But it's showing what went on in the house. And to me, that's what they don't want. And we don't need to see the other thing, but we need to see the other thing. Do you know what I mean? As people who are influencers, who are out there influencing people, making millions of dollars online, our eyeballs being famous, you don't get to just say, no, you can't have this information. You have chosen this life. I have no other way of saying that. I know it sounds mean, but this is the path that you chose. And so you are an adult, you can choose that path. But what we can't, and what this case shows, is that we should not choose this path for our children because we do not know the outcome, and this is a potential outcome. The Chandler Police Department in Arizona confirmed to Us Weekly on May 18th that Trigg died aged 3 days earlier. Trigg has been pulled unconscious from the famous backyard pool. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding this incident remain ongoing. This is still an open investigation, but since the article says it's closed now, the department said in a statement, out of respect for the family's privacy, we will not be releasing additional details until the investigation is closed. So once it's closed, then people will request the information. Emily, who has more than 1 million followers on Instagram and 3 million on TikTok, welcome Trigg. So this article was written on June 2nd. So they're wrong about that because if you go to her page, when we started following her, she had 3.1 million subscribers on TikTok. Now she has 4 million. This incident has left her with an extra million subscribers. And on the latest video that she posted that's not pinned, 70 million views. I've talked about this before. A reaction from me would be to erase everything about myself and my child off the internet. She doesn't want anybody to know what happened. Yet, and again, I'm really trying to be nice here, yet she keeps all the content with them up, right? She doesn't have the wherewithal, like she'll turn off comments, she's done things, she's blocked people, but she doesn't just remove it. If you don't want to be on the internet anymore, the easiest way to do this, instead of just suing Maricopa County or whatever it is, you just remove your social media. Just completely remove it, and you'll be forgotten in weeks. You'll be forgotten. But that's not the case here. Like, the draw towards the spotlight is so strong that even through this tragedy, it looks like you're still behind the scenes working it. Right? Obviously, you're suing a county to stop information from coming out. There was an Emilie Kiser snark page, okay? And the mod, one of the mods had the audacity, okay, to call me out in a bunch of different threads about like how I'm an asshole for snarking on Emilie Kiser. I need you to hear this. They didn't, there's not a hint of irony in their post either. The mod of Emilie Kiser snark, the thread with thousands and thousands of people on it, called me out for snarking. I did not snark, and I'd never known who she was until this case happened. I'm not snarking now, I'm not being mean. I'm just telling you the reality of what's going on here. The snark owner called me out and then wanted pats on the back because she's like, oh, we shut it down now. No more snark on Emilie Kiser. I'm saying that because it really makes me angry. This case makes me angry because there are people out there in every walk, in every angle of this thing who are covering it. But the ones who are covering it, like me and like news and like that, we're the bad guys, right? The ones who are out there commenting and making posts about how nobody should cover it, they're the good guys. And the snark mod, again, the audacity to be like, oh, we're not snarking anymore, so we're good people. Go yourself. Okay? Go yourself. The audacity of you who owns a snark thread about this person now wanting pats and accolades on the back because you're no longer snarking her because there was a tragedy, and then getting mad at me for covering this case. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that made me so mad. Okay? Not a lot makes me mad, especially my hate threads. Not a lot makes me mad. That makes me mad. That there are people out there who are trying to get on the side of something and being like, look at me. Look at, we shut down the snark thread. How good. We're so good. We're such good people. Like, come on. Right? So, off. Anyway, I needed to say that. So there are a couple that have popped up in its place, right? Emilie Kiser updates. And then there's Emilie Kiser forum. So there's a bunch, and they're not snark forums. They're just like, it's the information you want to get. The fact that Emilie Kiser is friends with Avery Woods makes me think less, because Avery Woods is a piece of shit. She's a trash human being. If that's one of your best friends, then you have terrible friends. That's all I'm going to say about that. Like, Like, Avery Woods is also looking for attention from this. Like, everybody else is, and I get that. But, like, that's Avery Woods in a nutshell. Okay, she's a piece of shit. I hate Avery Woods. And they're like, Avery Woods is back on TikTok. And everybody's like, well, who the cares if Avery Woods is back on TikTok? Like, that's not the mother. That's just a friend. So, like, and they're like, oh, you're so good, Avery Woods. Thanks for coming back and just doing a makeup tutorial, not talking. Like, this is a reality we all live in right now. Okay, and that's so stupid. Off Avery Woods. So, judge in Emilie's case just might have documents in T's death release. Someone says here, and this is USA Today, Kaiser's internet fame could impact decision. The fact that Kaiser is an individual with a public persona could likely play into a judge's decision in this case, Weiner told USA Today. The public has an interest in newsworthy events. Weiner said this is a high-profile person. They are in the news, and what makes it even more, they put themselves out there. This is the crux of my argument here, of my whole thing. They put themselves out there. She made her child famous. That other one family that that died in that car accident, they made that child famous. And so you, again, I will say this 100 times. You do not get to choose then what you get to hide from people. You don't, and they will dig for it. And you don't get to be mad about it either. I mean, you can, but you don't, like, no one's going to care because you, again, chose this path. That's a really important point that this guy's making. This is a famous person, and when it comes to famous people, they are held to a different account. It's hard to sue people for defamation if you're famous, right? It's harder to do things. You don't get privacy anymore. You can't tell paparazzi not to take pictures of you. That is the life that you chose. It's going to vary from case to case. A ruling like this it's in the judge's discretion. Across the country, documents such as police records and 911 calls are public record, meaning they must be accessible to the public. They can't just turn certain ones off, or rich people would get away with everything. The general reason for this is to keep citizens aware of their government. That's what I thought. According to the Cornell Legal Information Institute. At the federal level, the Freedom of Information Act requires government agencies to disclose information to the public. Each state, however, has its own laws in place around what kinds of records can be released. In some cases, like Kaiser's, individuals can ask court to seal records that would ordinarily be public. They can ask. Kaiser's lawsuit said no more than 100 requests. We know that already, 3 days. But however, these are stipulations around the release of public records, and police often redact portions of these items. Yes, we see that all the time. In Arizona, for example, officials can redact parts of video recordings to protect victims' rights. And they do that. We saw with 8 passengers. They would like blur faces and blur names, phone numbers, and things like that. In Arizona, court can rule to keep public records private if the release could cause substantial or irreparable private or public harm. Kaiser's lawsuit alleges that the records have been requested for commercial purposes rather than the purpose of monitoring the government. Because influencers publicize their lives for the purpose of monetization, Weiner said Kaiser's career could be a factor. I assume that this influencer monetizes their social media, Weiner said, so try to claim that it's a newsworthy story is commercial purposes, I don't see it. So, while everyone has a right to privacy, the judge may be more inclined to ensure the right to a private citizen over a public figure. So again, that's my argument. You are turning your children and yourself into public figures. It's fair game after that. Here's a good comment about it. I think because of her fame, this needs to be given due attention to help spread awareness of these incredibly unfortunate accidents happening in the blink of an eye. Especially with summer just getting started, people will be having more pool days, and they need to be so much more extra vigilant when they're at these places. It's very unfortunate this happened to her, but it could have happened to literally anyone, and they will most likely be facing the same scrutiny, if not worse, from local authorities. They don't have money for lawyers. This is obviously just my take, and I'm in no way blaming anyone. This happened now that we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. So they're saying use the platform to spread awareness about pool safety, which again, that's a big conversation in this whole topic as well. Like, let's be real, that's been a huge topic of this conversation, and that's ultimately in the end a good thing, making people aware. How many people have seen this, influencers especially, and are now calling pool companies and getting fences around their pools? K and Tay, do you know what I mean? There's lots of influencers out there with no fences around their pools. Delavlogs, guarantee you're going to see in the next coming vlogs, they're all going to have fences around their pools. That's a good thing. And if they don't, are you serious? Also, I'm seriously not trying to be mean, but you might want to do a little inner reflection. How harsh your words are about a grieving mother doesn't argue. They're arguing back and forth about this. But they did remove Trigs' information from medical examiner website until this case goes through. Someone says here, and this is a valid argument too, I hope that somehow it works out in her favor to keep records private. However, I feel that it's probably very unlikely. The sad reality is that Emilie, whether she likes it or not, is a public figure, and now that people are interested in some invested in her life, she'll never have privacy. The reality. Okay, and so apparently her brother has made this post here. Has anyone else seen the video posted by Emilie's stepbrother, Nick Espinoza on IG? Nick Espinoza on IG. Thoughts? And this was his post. Put the phone down, he says, while taking a picture with his phone. Spend time with the people you love. And I get that. Spend time with people you love. And he's like rocking Nikes in a damn Porsche. This is an ad for a Porsche and shoes. Like, I don't care. That is done in bad taste. I don't give a shit. Put your phone down, touch grass, he says, while he's making social media posts about this situation, drawing attention to his super expensive shoes and cars. What the is that all about? That's really weird, people. I got eaten alive for saying it was in bad taste. Oh, this is in bad taste and you should not have gotten eaten. That's the normal take from human beings to see something like that. I got a bunch of rude messages calling me names for the post about this video, so I deleted it. I know the message was meant well, but it's performative and yucky. When he said touch grass and put the phone down, I just felt very weird considering everyone is making vulgar comments about how Emilie doesn't put her phone down. I know he's grieving. I know everyone grieves differently, but when someone commented that was an ad, he deleted the comment and turned off the comments and now it's private. I just think there was a better way to deliver the message. Like, he shouldn't have done that. Just don't do that. Don't do it at all. All the Kaisers and all their family and everybody's like, privacy, privacy, privacy. And yet Avery Woods is talking about it. Her brother-in-law's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. They all want privacy. But they don't. They're gathering attention from, even Avery Woods, by putting that on her necklace in a video, was drawing attention and hoping people will see it so they'd comment on it and bring her attention. That's what that was for. Okay? Because you can do things like that in private and it will mean more to the parent, I think, to the other people if you do things in private. That's like Christians who pray in public and God blesses me, and it's all public. That is an attention, she's an attention whore. And people get mad at me for covering this and other people for covering this on TikTok. But what Avery Woods did, I say is arguably worse. And I don't care how close she is to the situation. I don't care. It's all performative. Okay, and she's collecting on it, and because she doesn't speak while doing a makeup video makes her better somehow. Off. Idiots out there on the internet. Even if the message was accurate, what does his car have to do with the message? Like, I agreed. Tacky as hell. He should have just turned on the camera and gave a heartfelt talk. No, he should have shut his mouth. Emilie wants privacy in this whole thing, right? Let's be real. So if that's the case, and I believe it is. Okay? Why is her family and her best friends and all that shit coming out and talking about it all? Like, is that how you honor Emilie's request? They'll come on and tell everybody else to shut the F up about it. But while doing that, they're not shutting the F up about it. You know what I mean? So, like, come on. His accounts are now private. I don't get the outrage over his TikTok. What Emilie and her family are going through is terrible, but every single one of them had lives and jobs before this. It's just like that they will eventually return to them. Some people cannot afford to take a long amount of time. He simply came back to work, just like an average person would eventually return to them. No, it's not average person. Okay? And there are ways to do things. You're going to return to work. Don't make it about Trig then. Right? That goes for Avery Woods as well. Return to work then. But don't bring attention to this thing that she obviously doesn't want attention brought to anymore. Are you seeing that? I thought it was tactless. The words sounded like the word generated from ChatGPT and the whole portion I've ever seen. Like, dude, be for real. If this were my brother or stepbrother-in-law or whatever, I would have appreciated a post with the words, but a picture. Edit. I know it's hard for men to express their emotions. I think as a woman, we usually have a better handle on these things, so I might come off as nitpicky. I believe this family deserves time, space, and privacy, so this is about to come off wrong. But no one is telling this man to set up his tripod and multiple angles and cry in the hood of a Porsche. He's then continued to edit and post it without thinking of how it could land, especially right before a trial. Yeah, it's yucky to watch. Yeah, that's my first impression. Was like, what the hell, dude? That's my first impression. Why Emilie Kiser should not have the right to prevent public access to these records is a comment that's been locked. In a society that values transparency and accountability, the public's right to access certain records is fundamental. The case involving Emilie Kiser, a public figure who has extensively shared details of her family life online, raises important questions about privacy, public interest, and the limits of control over information. Emilie Kiser has no right to prevent public requests for public records that would be publicly accessible if she were not an influencer. And I believe there are strong arguments supporting this is done by ChatGPT, 100%. 100%. When individuals voluntarily share significant aspects of their personal lives to the public, especially for profit, they invite scrutiny and interest, both, and they invite lots of money. Let's be real, they do this because it makes them millions. Emilie Kiser has, by her own actions, made her family private matter a matter of public discussion. That's a good sentence. Thanks, ChatGPT. She has posted daily videos, shared intimate family moments, and monetized this exposure. This level of public engagement creates a legitimate public interest in understanding the full context of her actions. But again, it's always passing over that it might not be her actions that caused this. It's probably most likely the husband's actions. And I get a lot of comments about that. They're like, why is she the one being thrown under the bus? And I get that, because she's the head of the channel and the public-facing portion of this whole thing. But it likely is not her fault if there is negligence involved, especially if legal or ethical questions arise. Allowing her to block access to related records would set a dangerous precedent, enabling public figures to selectively control their narrative while hiding potentially important information from the public. That's exactly what this would happen. It is inconsistent and unfair for someone to exploit their family's privacy for personal gain, then invoke privacy rights to shield themselves from scrutiny. Another great sentence. when it becomes convenient to do so, especially during cancellations or things like that. Emilie Kiser has benefited financially and socially from sharing her family's story. Then to deny public access to records that may provide a fuller, more accurate picture of her conduct is not only hypocritical, but also undermines the principles of fairness. Public figures should be held to the same standards they are set for themselves when seeking attention and profit from the audience. That is an amazing line. It's like people are losing their jobs because ChatGPT, and this is why. Read that again. Public figures should be held to the same standards they set for themselves when seeking attention and profit from the audience. So they'll come on camera and they'll be like, this is a real and raw me. This is me. We're showing you our lives, and this is what it's like, until shit hits the fan. And then they're like, oh, we want privacy now. Nope. That's just not how it works. One of the most troubling aspects of Emilie Kiser's online presence is the alleged exploitation of her children for monetary gain. By making her children's lives public, she has arguably compromised their privacy and well-being. Public access to records related to their conduct may be necessary to ensure that the rights and interests of these vulnerable parties are protected. Transparency can help identify potential harm or abuse. Can inform public debate about the ethics of family vlogging and child exploitation. There's another one. And informs public debate about the ethics of family vlogging and child exploitation online. That's what a lot of people want to avoid here. Nobody wants to be held accountable for what is happening in the child exploitation world. Nobody does. Because, who would want to be held accountable for something so egregious? You'd rather argue that doesn't happen, and then it's like, no, the kids love being on camera. No, this is it. And something went on in that home that stopped this father from being able to stop this from happening, like inebriation, drugs, and all that kind of stuff. How many influencers you've seen out there who talk about getting high in their garage while they're parenting their child, and they're trying to get accolades for it? Look at me, I'm getting high. I have to get high to be a parent. That's a discussion we can have if this guy is high or drunk during this moment, right? I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying there's been speculation out there about this. But even if there wasn't speculation, is it a possibility, right? That's a conversation we need to have, and these famous people need to be held accountable if that has happened. That's the conversation around holding them accountable. The public's right to access government and court research is a cornerstone of democratic society. These records are generally open to ensure transparency, prevent abuse of power, and foster trust in public institutions. Granting Emilie Kiser special protection from this principle would erode these values and create a troubling precedent for others to seek profit from publicity while avoiding accountability. The law should not be used as a tool to selectively hide information that is inconvenient or damaging to those who have chosen to live their lives in the public eye. Perfect. Finally, access to records enables the public to engage in informed discourse. In the digital age, where misinformation and selective storytelling are rampant, access to primary documents is essential for understanding the truth. How many people are out there making up stories about whatever and creating different narratives and all this stuff? I can't blame people. That's what happens when you keep silent on something. Right? So many influencers are out there doing something stupid, and then they do it, and then they go silent about it, and people make up their own stories because of it, and they are allowed to because you have invited that type of scrutiny, right? Having the raw data lets us all set the record straight. And in my opinion, if Emilie Kiser wanted this to go away and be silenced, set the record straight. Let the public, you don't have to do it yourself, but let the records set the record straight, and then we don't have to make up shit, right? But that's what makes this case so crazy, and I think it's going to get a lot bigger, is because there's something they're trying to hide. Preventing the public from requesting these records could limit the ability of journalists, advocates, and ordinary citizens to hold public figures accountable and to advocate for better protections for children and families. Emilie Kiser, by her own choices, has made her family's life a matter of public interest. She should not be allowed to prevent public access to records that are relevant to the scrutiny she has invited. Upholding transparency, fairness, and accountability is the best interest for society and ultimately of the vulnerable individuals whose rights and well-being may be at stake. The public's right to know must take precedence over the selective privacy claims of those who have chosen to live their lives in the spotlight. Again, that's 100% AI wrote that. Hi everyone, comments have been locked due to an influx of users with strong opinions and uncivil discourse, meaning that people were wrong, were upset with this post. And so many deleted comments. If you don't agree with something, downvote, keep scrolling, or utilize mod mail. You're not a moderator and therefore don't possess the ability to moderate or police what others say. So they're like, delete this mod, delete it. There's a court hearing today. So the day I'm filming this right now, there is a court hearing on this. I don't know when it is, but I'll update you on it, of course. When someone sues something like this, what do they hope to achieve? Are they just trying to protect their privacy, or are they also seeking financial compensation? She's not seeking financial compensation. She's just seeking to shut it down. Because rich people, there's two tiers of law, one for rich people, one for not rich people. At this point, I'm sure she's trying to save face and protect her brand. Well, they do say releasing those public records will cause material harm to her. I think they said irreparable harm to the family. At this point, there's nothing to compensate, technically anyway. I completely agree. She and her husband exploited their children for profit, and now she wants privacy, while keeping up her socials to continue profiting off her dead child image. Make it make sense. That's what I said. If she wants privacy, then she can have it. She just has to delete all her social media or make it go private. The fact that she hasn't speaks, that's a big statement. The fact that Emilie Kiser is suing the state for privacy, but not choosing to go private on social media is a statement in itself. I think it's funny how this seems to be a trending thought. I don't give a shit if she shared day-to-day videos and her son happened to be in some. Absolutely, she deserves privacy during this time. Imagine your child dying with a comment like this, I'm assuming you don't have one, and your job making you send them documents and videos of the entire death detailing everything so they can share it with the company. You would agree it's none of their business. And let's say you don't care for her. Cool, have some respect for that poor little boy and his little brother. I don't think people are disrespecting the kids at all in this. I don't think even people are disrespecting Emilie. I mean, some people are, of course, go to their house and film it. But again, the discourse over the privacy is not hating somebody. That's silly. The argument is dumb. Okay, we're allowed to have this conversation. If you don't want to have these types of conversations about you on the internet, don't put yourself on the internet. No, I 100% agree with this. Emilie has spent the last 4 years exploiting her kids and family for money and fame. Now that there's a tragedy, a totally preventable tragedy at that, she wants to tuck tail and hide. It's not how this works. She has to face the music. The reason she's hiding is because people have been telling her for at least a year she needs a fence. She feels dumb, and she should be. I hate to say it, I agree. She profited off documenting her life and family so much that she has the luxury of being able to afford to take legal action, not work right now, etc. If a normal person loses their child, they have to go back to work and can't afford to try to soothe their way out of something that happens to everyone. It just comes down to fairness and the price you pay for fame and fortune. Yep. This is a crazy story. I read this. Another influencer, wannabe and former Beachbody health and fitness coach, Amy Bailey, got drunk and high with her husband and friends at home in May 2020 for her own birthday during the pandemic when large gatherings weren't even supposed to be happening. They had 2 medically fragile and oxygen-dependent infant twin daughters, and she sent the babysitter home even after she offered to stay the night. They woke up to find one of their daughters under the covers at the end of their bed because they passed out with her in the bed and she passed away. There were so many warning signs of neglect and making irresponsible choices in the couple months prior, and her snarkers all had a bad feeling something bad would happen. Amy claimed her MLM downline she would never come back to IG after she passed, but she did and continues to exploit her kids and scam women into expensive weight loss supplements with a new company. Sounds like I need to cover this lady, because that's crazy. This is exactly what I've been saying. Well said. This is giving ChatGPT. Emilie wants to be able to pick and choose what she gets to exploit. She feels entitled to her own image. This is the perfect example. Well said. She exploited her son daily in life for profit, and now she demands privacy. But isn't the point of public records to ensure accountability for the conduct of government? Yes, yes, yes. The fact that she exploited her child in life does not justify allowing others to exploit him in death. I think people are getting this mistake. I agree with what you're saying halfway. There are people who are using Trigs Death and like talking about it, but I think the overarching conversation amongst all of this is the privacy argument. And it's Emilie. It's not really Trig. It's Emilie, her husband, right? Even though it's probably her husband who should be more at the center of this. But they get to claim exploitation and death just because that's the topic we're talking about. But that's just not the case. There are many examples of states that don't release 911 calls yet summarize the content. The same goal as prosecution approved can be accomplished without splashing graphic content. And I agree with that. Should not be splashing graphic content with a dead child in it. I don't think you should. I don't think you should, but I think you should be able to get it. I think that's the freedom part. It's important to clarify that access to records does not automatically mean releasing sensitive or graphic details, blah, blah. ChatGPT again. Are you in law school? I might be. No, it's AI. Okay, so there is one thing I do want to clarify when it comes to Emilie. There have been many posts and people making comments about how she would be in lives and they're telling her about pool fence and all this kind of stuff, and she would delete comments. That I believe. But I've never once seen evidence of her saying that it's the aesthetic. It's an argument that I repeated on my last video about Emilie Kiser, but I've not yet seen any evidence of her saying, oh, I'm never going to get a pool fence, it's aesthetic. On the other hand, this was released. Her saying she is going to get a pool fence and talking about it live in this video.
Well, so if this is a controversial topic, I don't think it is, but I want to get your guys' opinions on
why would it be a controversial topic though?
Your favorite pool safety things are. No matter what, we are doing a pool fence because our backyard is pretty big, so I feel like it is just smartest to have a fence right when you enter out the back doors. Can't even get into the whole backyard.
And then the question's gonna be then where was this fence? I'm not laughing, it's not funny. I'm where was it? You're talking about it in a live. You should have been on the phone the moment you moved into that home to get a fence.
I still want to have something around the pool. So thinking is a pool net. We found a company that has had literally 0 fatalities. I think all the 50 years that they've been in business, I have watched so many TikToks about this company, thinking that that's what we're going to do for like on our pool and on our hot tub. It's happening out here. Playing soccer.
So again, that video confuses me, but again, she does talk about pool fence here, that she's going to get a pool fence, and then she says, but instead, I'm going to get this net that has this company who has had 0 fatalities. Now, this company, if they had this net, and some people said she did have this net, that company's not at fault if you don't put the net up, right? You can't be like, the company can't be at fault for that. So that company is scared that something's going to come out about this. What's eerie is how she says the pool net company had no fatalities in 50 years. Again, it's not the pool company's, that's not the pool net's fault here. The pool net that she had is tried and tested for safety and efficacy. They have amazing reviews and have saved so many lives. Maybe they were in the pool just before, hadn't gotten the chance to put the net back. It's probably exactly what happened. It's insane how she posted this video talking about pool safety on 5/12/24, and the incident happened to 5/12/25, 1 year to the date. This was not her fault. I will fight and defend them to my grave. No one, like, again, negligence is a fault type thing, but not putting up a pool fence, I'm not saying it's completely a fault, but there's some fault there. When you have the monetary capability of doing it, absolutely you do, and at any moment you could pay any fence guy to come do your fence and we could get done on a weekend. Okay, you talked about it for a year. Okay, she was this comment said that she posted on 5/12/24, and it happened a year later. She still had not had a pool fence up in a year. So there is blame to be had here. There absolutely is. Again, the reason they don't want these cameras released from the investigation from their home, I don't think it's because, like, they're saying the pool thing. I understand that, and I don't think we should ever see that. But there's something else fishy going on. What do the comments say? She wasn't even home when it happened. Dad was watching him. How exactly you know this? Someone posted a police report. Allegedly, mom was out with friends for lunch. Dad was home with boys. See, so there's one. Out for lunch. I heard out for drinks, dinner. So there's a million things. So let the record set the record straight. You mean, let the investigation set it all straight. Everybody's making up shit. And again, we're allowed to. You have invited scrutiny by becoming a famous person. I'm going to say it. If this was a person of color, they would have been arrested for child neglect. I almost would believe that. Yeah. But she didn't have a fence. So preventable. I didn't see any of y'all hiring someone to build it or paying for the thousands it costs. What kind of comment is that? I didn't see you paying for it. Why the would we pay for it? She's a millionaire. It's her and her husband's responsibility to protect their children, not us. We can say things, but that's not, let me pay for the fence then. Come on. That has nothing to do with it. It's called being responsible at home. It absolutely does. Being responsible takes money and time. It's always so easy until it's used. She was pregnant for 10 months and then had a newborn. Life happens and her life is busy on time. Is she doing the fence by herself while she's pregnant, or is she calling a fence company to come do it? She also has a husband. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking it. People will go through the craziest hoops to avoid justification of this. That's crazy to me. Hun, come on now. She had the money, but didn't act on the fact of being urgent. Maybe waiting for a pool company to come in and sponsor the fence for free is more important than she thought. It's a business to her. Will get whatever she can for free or sponsored. She did get a pool net, but I think we need to stop talking about her baby. Yesterday, we loved him and love her and her family, but we need to respect the grievance. Again, you're making this comment in a public forum about her, and you're telling everybody to shut up about it. You can't do it, okay? It will not happen. You can't be like, let's stop talking about it while talking about it. Lots of people just like, I just typed in Emilie Kiser on TikTok here. You can see Emilie Kiser, and it's just, look at this. It's one of the most prolific conversations on here right now. Avery's necklace. See, this is her wanting attention from this too. And so spare us when you tell us all to stop talking about it. Okay? I don't care if she feels like, because she knows him, that she can do this. It's the same thing. She was searching for attention. She did that on purpose. There wasn't anything disrespectful how Ken Craddock came back. I don't know who Ken Craddock is. I don't know. Why do people constantly have to repost everything? If people watch Avery, they'll see what necklace she's wearing. Can someone explain the lore? At least she has fresh nails. Who's Ken Craddock? Sounds like a person exploiting a child with club feet. That's what that sounds like.
I just got this comment on one of my posts. It says, Emily just unfollowed Ken Craddock. I think that's how you say her last name. I think she distanced herself from anyone who isn't by her side at a time like this.
If this is true, how do you have time to be, while you're grieving, to go unfollow people on social media and follow this? If you don't want to hear about it, why are you sitting there on the internet following it? That's my question to Emily. Like if you're unfollowing people who aren't by your side and you're scrolling your phone and everything, and you don't want to hear about it, why are you on the internet at all? Why are you not deleting all your social media and going private and doing that stuff? Like, that's my question. I think that's an honest, fair question. Ken is not the same position as Avery. She can't afford to take prolonged amount of time off. So they're mad at Ken Craddock for not taking enough time off because of what happened. What the fuck? That's so weird. I don't blame Ken at all for getting back into posting. She took time off to be with Emilie when everything happened. What more do people expect her to do? My guess is she did it because it would be too painful to see Ken with her 2 boys who are basically the same age as Trig. Why is Ken posting? Why? Like, what? See, this is the world that they all live in. This is a weird world. For all that we're talking about this thing, this is a very, very, very interesting case because it really, really, really goes at the core of privacy for children, and what people can request when you become famous. That's the conversation here. When you put your kids on the internet, when you make your kids famous, when you make yourself famous, when you do all this kind of stuff, and then you expect privacy, you can't. That's it. So people out there are commenting about this, you got to shut your mouth. You can't do it. The answer for people who are wondering is to stop putting your kids on the internet. That's the answer. There's no other answer. And so you're seeing influencers, I think there's been articles too about the influencers who are already saying this stuff. So that's the whole case. So everybody take a huge breath with me. Thanks for being here for these tough conversations. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day and that we continue to talk about these types of things because they are really, really, really important. Kids can't consent to being influencers, and that's what it's all about. Thanks, and I'll see you when I see you.